everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Pallas. For this week's show, we are discussing how to shun destructive social norms. Tonight, we have a diverse panel with each person addressing different aspects of these dangerous societal demands. It will be enlightening and show you how we can and should stop demanding that people be cardboard cutouts designed by the rich and powerful. Please remember to keep all comments and questions related to the show topic and that this is a safe space. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to all your comments and questions. If you're on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, grant StreamYard access so we can see your name when you have a comment or a question. Let's give a round of shout outs to my top sponsors, Ruth, Kirsten, Ray, Michelle, and Heidi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. If you would like to support me, you too can go to sherrypallas.com, and there you will find dozens of ways to do so for as little as $3 a month. Thanks in advance, and thanks for welcoming us into your home and joining the conversation. I appreciate you all. Okay, let's meet our guests and get smarter. Where are you? Okay. Ashley Lavendier was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, to deeply religious parents. Ash had nothing come easy. A fierce go-getter, Ash holds a passion for intersexual advocacy. As a reformed Roman Catholic and spiritual mystic, one saying holds the strongest. It's if at first the door isn't open, ram it down somewhere else. Welcome back, Ash. How are you?
Hello, I'm all right.
So glad to see you again. Next, we have Lisa Maria Mayers. She has been on a yoga mat and meditation for over 20 years. She's a manifestation coach and the law of attraction teacher and coach. She lived abroad for many years, faced death, and can tell you that life is much more fun. Welcome back, Lisa. Good to have you.
Great to be here. Thank you, Sherry. This is fun. Hi, everyone.
And last but not least, Steve Slocum fell into an extreme Christian group on the University of Arizona campus at the age of 17 as an unhappy and confused adolescent. His commitment became so extreme that he ultimately took his family to Kazakhstan as Christian missionaries. There, his family experienced severe religious abuse and trauma at the hands of a cult leader. He has since left the Christian faith and now focuses on bringing people from diverse cultures together. He is the author of an award-winning book, Why Do They Hate Us? Making Peace Within the Muslim World, and the founder of the nonprofit SalamUSA.org. Welcome back, Steve.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here.
I am so thankful for this show, and it's kind of poignant in my life right now because the societal norms I am realizing come so early. I had a conversation with my 6-year-old grandson the other day. Actually, two. One of which he told me that I better watch out because if I was a bad person, I would end up in hell, which we had a very long discussion about that, how that was just a story. But that conditioning is already being put in. 2 days later, we have another discussion where he tells me that I should have a boyfriend, that I will not be happy unless I have a boyfriend, and that I really need to get a boyfriend in my life. And I'm like, no, I don't have time for a boyfriend in my life. And he was like, no, but that's the way it's supposed to be. He's 6, y'all. And he is already putting these societal demands on me that I want nothing to do with. And at 6, he's already conditioned to say this. So how are we supposed to navigate through all of this BS and all of these societal norms and really focus on what makes us happy? Ash, I wanted to speak on sex and gender societal norms. What do you have to say?
So for me personally, a lot of it was very difficult for me coming out. I was a closet case for years and years and years in high school. And it was mainly because of that, social norm. This was a little bit on another panel that I had done, but I grew up extremely, extremely religious, Catholic, conservative, the whole deal. And the idea of breaking that mold was just kind of even unintentionally ground into me, like, we don't do that. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
And it was just very, very harsh on me, like, from the very beginning. Even though it wasn't necessarily intentional, it was hidden, but it was very, very intense.
And a lot of it's subconscious and subliminal, right? Like I'm a member of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization, and I have a little sister. And just on this weekend when I saw her, she told me that she thinks she has a boyfriend. And I questioned her and I said, "Well, when we first started hanging out, you said you liked girls." And she's like, "I know, I'm pretty confused about that right now." And I said, "Well, then that just probably means you're bisexual." And she was so taken aback by that and said, "Oh, I thought I had to choose one." And I said, "No, you don't. It's who you are attracted to." But I mean, we start saying at a very young age, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you have these types of things? So we're at gender reveal parties and all of those things.
Oh,
so it's
don't get me started on that.
right. It's totally on a subconscious level almost that you are supposed to be in this cookie cutter kind of class they want us all in.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Steve, what about you?
Well, as a cis het white male, all my life, I have fallen into this kind of later in life. But as I've been deconstructing my Christian faith and pulling on the threads, the ball of yarn, and more and more and more and more of it starts coming apart. I feel like I've even gotten past even the religious aspects of it, and what I find myself in now are even some of the generational norms, societal norms that are passed down, and even getting beyond that into more historical kinds of things, such as things like the doctrine of discovery and what sort of societal norms came into play, such that a whole group of people in a whole region could feel like that the world belonged to them. They could go wherever they wanted in the world and commit genocide, enslave people. And so these profound societal norms, they're a few generations removed from us, so we don't feel like we're participating in them. But for that reason, I feel like it's very deep inside of us, even on a DNA kind of level.
Totally.
A genetic level. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of I've actually kind of made it my life work to make myself aware of it, and then through my nonprofit we help others through awareness, and I especially reach out to people of privilege to become more aware of these things that are deep within us that we may not be aware of, but that are the very seed and foundation of destructive societal norms.
Well, and the perfect example is Christopher Columbus and our forefathers founding America and discovering America. They were conquering the land. They were killing millions, but it's supposed to have been society issues it as we conquer, we found this land. God gave us this land, when that's not true at all. And that's a total societal indoctrination that's strewn across, the white man's history. A lot of people are even denying that at this point. But yeah, conquering other lands is something that people of privilege have done in the name of patriotism or national pride and stuff like that. That's a societal norm that is destructive to millions. I mean, that just goes across the board. Thank you. Lisa, how about you?
Yeah. Well, because my work is more spiritual based in terms of yoga, meditation, I find that, people aren't exploring their inner landscape as much. They're not really knowing what's true for them. They're drinking the juice, right? The programming is like starting when you're young, like you said. The little your little was that your nephew,
grandson?
Oh my gosh, your grandmother? That's unbelievable. Anyway, okay.
I had my son when I was 2.
You look so young. You had really? You look so young. Anyway, right? I mean, your grandson's already like boyfriend, girlfriend, right? And I mean, I get it. We're programmed in human nature also to work in tribes, right, and groups, and it's nice to be part of a community. But like this whole thought that you have to have a husband, you have to have children.
Oh, we lost you. Oh, I hate when that happens. Okay, we're going to move on until she comes back. Ash, how do you handle the societal norms being pushed on you? How do you maintain your authenticity and who you are striving to be among all of this pressure? How do you rise above it and get out of it?
It has been a very, very intense process for me over the years. I've definitely gotten better at it from a sexuality standpoint because I've been out in terms of that longer. In terms of a gender standpoint, I'm still kind of working on that one. But it's just something I've had to get used to over these past few years. But in terms of a sexuality standpoint, especially, I really have realized, and I've taken the time to realize from that particular standpoint that, yes, other people may be telling me these things like, sexuality was created for procreation, or sexuality was created for, having,
Binary thinkers.
or exactly. And
Yeah.
And I've heard it all. I've heard it all when it comes to sexuality at this point because I've been out in that way since I was 18. So I've heard it all, especially from my parents quite a bit. And at this point, I've just kind of, with my family or people that don't really know me, I've just kind of gotten to the point of, you know what? This has no effect on your life. I'm not even going to try to have a conversation because it's not going to go anywhere, because I've tried to have a conversation a million times and clearly not getting through to people that I would have wanted it to get through to. So it's like, okay, well, it's not your life. So
Exactly.
I've
And
got
that's
it's not your life. So why am I wasting mine trying to convince you
exactly.
of my own life? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, when someone is trying to make you someone that you're not, it's on them, not you, right?
Right,
It's
exactly.
I'm going to do me and I'm going to be happy
Right,
and I don't care what you say. I
right,
think the problem is when people care.
right,
When people say, I really
right,
care what you think, we're structured that way, right? We're structured to be tribal. We're structured to be in a community, so we want approval from everybody. But when
right,
it means you not being yourself or someone telling you who you are, that's when we have to go, no,
right,
I need to be true to myself. As long as you're not a dick, that's,
right.
that's the barometer there. But
Exactly.
you don't owe an explanation to anyone as to
Right,
who you are if you're not
right,
hurting anybody.
right, exactly. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't necessarily gotten to that point with gender yet, but it's something I've been
Okay.
working. You know,
Yeah.
I can admit that, everything is a process. And like, as I said, even with sexuality, God, it took me a good 4 years to get to the point with sexuality of even thinking about not caring what anybody else thought.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I a very, very hard time coming out sexuality wise because I was very much put on the spot. I was very much not ready for it. And my mom, I remember it very clearly, specifically asked me, we were at dinner one night, I cut my finger on a cookie, how I remember this. But she asked me, I was acting quote unquote weird. She's like, "What? Is there a guy?" And I'm like, not exactly. And she's like, "Well, what, are you gay or something?" And she kind of yelled at me. And I was like, "What? No?" And then I spilled out bi, and well, that turned out to be completely wrong. So it took a couple tries to figure it out. But when I finally
I'm
did,
still figuring out me, and I'm in my 50s. So, I mean, and I think that's part of it too, is
mm-hmm,
becoming authentic. And I mean, I can trace back everything that I have now accepted about myself to
right,
being criticized about it when I was younger.
right,
I'm too
right,
loud, I'm too tall, I'm too much.
exactly, right,
I need to be quiet more. And if I became that person, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. I
right.
wouldn't
Like I
be
said, I've heard it
who I
all.
need to be. It's a
Right,
scary process, though.
it definitely is. It takes a lot of time too.
Yeah.
And I will say the one thing specifically about sexuality that I realized is you find out who your friends are really fast. Because especially going to a Catholic high school, I had all these friends that claimed that they were going to be like my best friend for life, and then the day I came out, it was like, "F you."
That's
So
so sad.
it
And
was
that's
very
that's the peer pressure. That is societal demands on you being inauthentic. Don't buy
right.
into it.
Exactly.
Steve, how do you suggest that we fix this white conquering problem that we do in pushing these norms that white people should be in control?
Well, it's a very long process for sure. And one of the things that I'm finding is that tiny little increments of progress are celebrated on the one side, say on the side of people trying to change, but it seems like nothing to people who are on the receiving end. So it's this sort of conflicting thing where I go into white spaces and try to speak to people of privilege about what's going on, and they don't like it. And I show up in spaces or people who are marginalized, and they're like, "Who are you? You know, you're just a white guy. You know, you've had privilege all your life." And I find I don't really belong anywhere right now. So that's just a bit of the struggle of being in this work. But in terms of fixing it, I mean, it starts with awareness. It starts with critical thinking, and being able to do the critical work. It's the buzzwords, whatever, critical race theory, whatever. I mean, the critical part of it, critical thinking, and allowing your thoughts to be critical and not accepting the social norms, the societal norms as the template, as the framework of how life is supposed to be, but somehow getting people to a place where they start to realize that, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's wrong. And I think the George Floyd murder being caught on video and spread everywhere was just a huge eye opener. Because black people were saying, "Hey, this is nothing new. Why are you all so excited about this? I mean, this has been going on and will continue to go on. It just haven't been caught on camera." Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but on the other hand, for us and even for me, it was like a paradigm shift for me of like, whoa, something really isn't wrong, isn't right here. Something is wrong, and I need to address this for myself personally. So that's where it starts with the personal work, the race work. That's what they call it, race work. To understand
Yeah.
where I have these unconscious biases showing up in my life and work on them, and then through my nonprofit, basically, I just share my journey with others and help people who. There's a lot of people out there who want to do the work, but they don't know where to start. So I just try to help them with events, awareness, historical things. What is history like from Native American perspective? What is history like from African American perspective? And it's honestly very powerful and very eye-opening. And it just people just I know that's what happened to me. I just sat down and my mouth hung open, and I'm just like, what? This happened, this happened, this happened
Yeah.
over and over again. And it's actually a really good start um, for starting to do the work. And then friendships across, getting out of our comfort groups, and finding these uh, intersectional relationships, and then just listening. I found that that's time to shut up, just listen, and honestly, when I hear stories of others like Ash, for example, and what they've been through and things that I've never ever even had to experience, even come close to experiencing. I had no idea what it would be like, but when I listen, then I can start to feel, the
Exactly.
experiences that you have, and then I like Ash as a friend, and I want to, be a part of, um, making the world, inclusive, for everyone. So
Well,
yeah,
and
that's so.
stories, the stories matter, right? I mean, that's one of the
Yeah,
really good things about social media is so many people are learning from a history that they weren't taught. So when we see that these societal standards have been put on us and we're not even aware of them, that awareness will create change. Lisa, welcome back. Are you frozen again? I'm going to remove her so she doesn't get mad at me for this position until she waves me on. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that my little sister asked me this weekend, she said that she was struggling with pronouns. And I told her how I've struggled with pronouns, but that I still am trying very hard to honor the person. And I had a chance just last week because my dogs are very aggressive as far as the love that they want to give everybody. And they think everybody that walks by them is there for them. So there was this person that was walking up towards me, and I didn't know what they were. It could have been a man, could have been a woman, could have been trans. I'm not sure, but I still wanted to honor them. And so I said to my dogs, like I say all the time, they are not here for you. And this person looked at me and smiled and said, thank you. I mean, it's just that little. It's just that little of being able to see someone that will help them break out of those societal norms. Because when you feel like everybody is against you, and then it makes you and your authenticity feel wrong. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles with this topic, is just being able to figure out who you are and then accept it. And I did that from everybody walking out on me. And when I got cancer, everybody flew. And then I got paralyzed from the drugs that they had given me. So I had over a year to just sit there and sit with myself and really go through all of the stuff that things had said about me and check myself. And through that process, I thought I was going to come out hating myself and realizing that everybody was right, that I was just this total piece of shit. But instead, I came out going, okay, this is on them. I know what I have to fix. I know what I can do, and I'm going to love me. So it was this kind of backwards thing where all of the rejection is what made me fall in love with me finally. And in doing so, all of that shame from society just poof went away, because they no longer mattered to me, because I knew who I was. When I didn't know who I was, then all of the stuff that was coming in was validated in my mind. I would be like, are they right? Am I really this person? And in being able to have that time to check myself and to say, okay, well, this isn't correct, or this is on them, or this really is on me, I need to change, I became more secure and their voices became more quiet. Lisa's back.
I'm back and I'm on my phone, and this is going to
okay. So go for it, girlfriend. We've been waiting for you.
You're so lovely. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. No, listen, where I was at was, from a spiritual standpoint, right? We don't get in touch with our deeper nature on a regular basis, right? Through meditation, through silence. So we don't really know, I find, what's really true for us. We drank the juice. We're told since we're young, right? Have a husband, have children. Not everyone's meant to have children. Not everybody, right? I mean, some people are playing wonderful roles in this life and giving amazing gifts to the world, but it doesn't include parenting or being
as an aunt or an uncle or something like that. Yeah.
Or a pet owner, or or philanthropic work, or like these, your wonderful guests who do special things. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I just think from a spiritual standpoint, yoga and meditation has really helped me to get quiet. And then, I think as I came back on, I heard about stories. It's really the story that we've got running through our minds, right? That we're gravitating to, that we're latching onto, that we're, validating each day. And that can sometimes, or a lot of the time, has to do with what we've been programmed with since childhood. So, getting still, getting quiet, finding out what's true for you, doing things alone, not being afraid to be judged, knowing that judgments are often a projection of other people's minds, really, I think is a way to shun societal norms.
Well, and I don't think that we can really fulfill our purpose on this planet if we're trying to be someone who we're not. You know, when we fulfill our dreams, when we're doing it, that's because of authenticity. That's not because we've fit into a mold that someone put us in. I think that every human on this planet is meant to break out of that mold and to see the wonderful nature of themselves. And if you're living in that cookie cutter life where all of these other people demand what you want, you'll never reach those dreams, because you have to be who you are in order to do what you were meant to do.
Absolutely. And you have to be courageous enough and a little brave to.
Oh man, that fear. Oh, yeah. That fear. Oh my God. I've literally been on my bathroom floor crying, going, I don't think I can do this. And I'm still here. I did it. So yeah, right. I mean, walking through that fear, not letting it overcome you. Especially because of the peer pressure. I saw the other day, and it's so true. Like, I quit drinking a few years ago, and no one ever asks you to understand why you quit drugs. But the moment you say you quit drinking, someone goes, really, why? You know, if I would have said, oh, I got off heroin, they'd be like, oh, good. But when it's, you know, alcohol, again, a societal norm put on you that something must be wrong with you if you quit drinking. So all of those types of things, to say, okay, I am okay in who I am, and I don't give a fuck what you think. But getting to that point, it took me 45 years, maybe almost close to 50, because I was still trying to be that person that everybody wanted me to be. And now I am so much happier and more free and less constricted. I was thinking the other day about my best friend in school. She was nutty. She was totally nutty. She'd do stuff like that all the time. And when I was insecure, I'd be like, what is she doing? She's being weird. People are going to look at us. What are they going to say? Now that's me. And we were friends because of that. But I had forgotten that. Now I am looking at everybody going, doing those types of things. Because again, I'm more secure in who I am. But it was a bitch of a process. I can tell you that.
It doesn't come easy.
No. And Ash, you were talking about that, how hard it is.
To the gender thing is a whole other issue, but I've been working on that for a while, as I said. But in terms of the sexuality thing you had mentioned, like, in just in general, how hard certain things are to like get comfortable with being who you are, basically not giving a fuck what people think. And I remember specifically my very first girlfriend in college. Oh my God. So my very first girlfriend in college, it was like my last semester, my senior year of college, because I had thought I was bi for like that longest time. No. So I remember we were walking down like the sidewalk on campus, and I just subconsciously like grabbed her hand, and then like the very next second I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, what? There's people here. People can see this. Like, I started freaking out. And then it took me a good like 5 or 10 minutes of just walking and talking to like relax into that and realize, like, okay, you're not going to get jumped. Like, it's Ohio, but it's like one of the most liberal campuses in the country. Like, you're not going to get jumped for holding your girlfriend's hand in public. Like, chill. And it was just the weirdest thing for me, because for that half a second, I just completely freaked out, because like that was
Scary.
what trained in me for like years of my life. Like,
the LGBTQ community is in physical danger right now. So those societal demands are even more extreme at this point. And we have to get over that we have any right to control someone's sexuality or who they love or any of that. I mean, that's just pure entitlement on our part. It's insane, actually.
Right. Exactly.
Steve, you talked about the loneliness of it. And again, I said that the only way I really found myself was being completely alone for a year. How do you deal with that?
That's a great question. I think I'm just developing a new set of friends around the work that I do, people who sort of get it. And someone was asking me just the other day, about, my friends and, who my friends were and so on. And I have a really small list, but there are others. and we're very close, and we get it, and not in some sort of weird, like we're better than everyone else kind of thing, but just a different way of looking at things. And it's nice to be around people who are not always constantly, unconsciously or consciously saying dumb things, saying insensitive things, saying things that are hurt other people, and they just don't care. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be around people that are sensitive to that, and it's just part of the culture that we're creating for ourselves, to make it, to make it a new norm. This is a new norm that is in contrast to the dominant societal norm, and so that's how I work on the loneliness. Is yeah, thankfully I'm not alone, and I have some friends that are with me in this.
Yeah. And let me rephrase that. I did have a couple people that helped me through, but I had huge groups of friends. And I think that was one of the hardest things, was realizing that they weren't really friends. They were people I knew. They were people I partied with. They were people I vacationed with. But when push came to shove, they were gone. And so I think that owning yourself and really residing in your authenticity removes those fake friendships. I still struggle with it. I still am hurt by it, because I really thought these people were my friends and they loved me. But their actions prove that they didn't, which meant their words meant nothing either. So if someone doesn't love you and they're criticizing you, then that can wholly be just chucked out, because only someone who loves you will give you the constructive criticism to make yourself better, and not come from a selfish point of what they want you to be, of how they want you to represent yourself in here. Your real friends will cheer you on. Lisa?
Great point. Absolutely. Um, about that.
Anything.
Oh, well, I mean, friendships help. I mean, for me, I've spent long periods of time being single, being alone as well, in partnership throughout my life, traveling the world by myself, right? Hanging out in caves and meditating for 8 hours a day. I mean, I've done some pretty wild stuff, but
That's
I think,
awesome.
yeah, when you get really close to, you know, I guess your inner self, talking about the authentic self, there's very little to fear. I've also faced, death. I've also been in a situation where I almost went to the other side. And so when you're in that space and you learn that there's really nothing to fear on earth, although all these atrocities are happening in the world, we see them every day, war and crimes against LGBTY, the group, wonderful people in the world, all races, all people are being mistreated, I'll say, across the board. It's like, you know at the same time, you have to find your centered self and just pray for those who suffer, but at the same time know that we all don't get to stay on this planet, and
Yeah.
someday we all have to leave. And so let's make it a good place while we're here. Let's not be afraid. It's like I tell my dad, there's two ways you can live: afraid of death or enjoying life because it doesn't last. Like,
Yeah.
so, like, right, like, are you going to go to the end all like petrified, or can you like really live it out and just have a great time and know that when it is your time, it's like it's a natural order, so I
Well, and
don't
that's
know.
glass half full, glass half empty mentality, right?
Yeah,
Everything's all in the way you look at it. Everything is perception.
everything is perception, absolutely. But living fearlessly, I think, is one of the most freeing things you could do, because then there's nothing left to grasp onto and to fear. So
Well, and I want to stress that we are not in any way, shape, or form condoning being an asshole,
no.
right? That is not your authentic self. That is pain. Hurting someone, well, I'm authentically like this. No, the authentic self comes from love. The authentic self comes from being able to help others. That is the trueness of us. When we incur pain and trauma and division, that's when those hard things come in. And that's what builds the societal norms even more, because a scared society wants the cookie cutters. A society built on love and freedom wants the diversity. They want people to be who they are. So if everybody out there said, okay, I'm going to be me and you be you, and let's just not hurt each other, that's how all of this could be fixed. Just being able to say, I accept you for who you are, not I accept you for the bad things that you do, but I accept you for who you are. And we are all growing as humans and trying to be better about it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, acceptance is one of the greatest things you could ever practice in life, because
For yourself and others.
yeah, for yourself and others, exactly. Like, this is who you are, and you're
Yeah.
not, perfect, and you're a work in progress. And hopefully, whatever bad things or things that are, not nice to people, you can become aware of that, and you can find out what is causing you to behave this way, and you
Yeah.
coming from a compassionate place. Absolutely.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, exceptionalism, not perfectionism. We can be our
Yes.
best people without having to be perfect, because we will never reach perfection, ever. We're human. No one ever has.
No one ever has. Yeah.
Steve, anything from you? You're muted. You're muted.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I was hard time finding the mute button there. Sorry, now I lost the train of thought. What were we discussing?
Shunning societal norms.
Oh, well, broadly, yes. Was
Yeah.
there something particular point that was
No,
being
just you
discussed?
getting in. I mean, if you want to come back to the conversation, I can bring it back to Ash. I think she was going to say something.
Yes, please do.
So that one thing you had mentioned specifically about geez, I completely forgot where you were going with it, because I was about to say something and then I just had
About
to.
the friends. You were saying something about the friends.
Right. Oh, so what I've noticed in particular that's been a problem for me in terms of like dealing with the whole shunning societal norms and things, specifically in terms of sexuality and more recently gender identity a little bit as well. Again, I'm still working through that part, but that's kind of been the part that I've noticed is without going into too much personal detail because that's irrelevant, and I don't dox people anyway, but I had quite a few friends, quote unquote,
People you knew.
drop me within the past year or so because they up and decided that they suddenly had a huge problem with me being queer after we knew each other our entire lives. So it just was like suddenly this massive thing, like, oh my God, this is a problem now. And I was like, wait, what? Like, because it literally was those things that just came out of thin air, like, excuse me, you've known about this for years, and why is it all of a sudden a problem? And it was just, it hit me like a ton of bricks because it was not something I was expecting. And it was just very hard to deal with, especially, having this a person that supposedly accepted me for all these years and then just up and decided, oh no, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. That was a really hard hit on my confidence with all this stuff because it was like, okay, I thought I felt confident in all this, and then it kind of brought me back to square one for a little bit, and I kind of, for the lack of better terminology, had to pull myself up by my bootstraps a little bit because I knew nobody else would.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it was a really rough spot to be in, especially because it was so sudden.
all of us, even the four of us on this show, help societal norms do this, right? Because if we were not perpetuating them, if we weren't doing the judgment, they would disappear. So in any aspect of our lives, we have to be able to examine ourselves and say, okay, well, where am I perpetuating this? And I also think, on a different note, Ash, that words matter. And it really helped me to change my language from my friends abandoning me to those are people I know. It also eliminated a lot of the feelings of abandonment, because a friend should be there, right? Family should be there. But when they leave, so that adds to the rejection, that adds to the hurt and everything. But when they're just people you know, then it's like, okay, well, they turned out to be assholes.
Right. That's actually exactly kind of what I was thinking, because I kind of had started to realize that I was slipping into that mindset of,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you're just like, yeah, we were friends for 20 years, whatever. Like, you're just some random person I know now because you've
Yeah.
proven to be trusted.
Yeah.
So, like, I was kind of, slipping into that a little bit. And same thing with my other friend this year as well. I just kind of noticed, like, okay, you're just random people I know. Like, it doesn't really, like,
Yeah. It's
on.
sad,
I found myself realizing, like, your opinion should be the last thing I care about.
right?
Did take me a while to get there, because it was
Yeah.
a traumatic situation. But I just realized eventually at some point, like, why do I even care about this so much? Because I realized, especially with those two people, that like their mentality behind it and their like friendship was kind of fake in the first place.
Right. I mean, and that's proven in the long run. I
And
mean,
like,
changing it mentally in it. Wayne Dyer said you can change anything by just changing the way you look at it. So whenever I'm dealing with something tough, I always try and change the way I look at it and see if there's any way to do so.
exactly.
And saying that they are just people that I knew did that for me.
Mm,
Being able to separate what I thought was their love from their abandonment put
right.
everything into perspective. And I think that's one of the keys with societal norms is
Hmm.
not giving society the value that we do.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
most of these people don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, and we think
Right.
that they know us.
Right.
It's oh, you know me better than I know myself.
Right.
And we all do it. I mean, I think everybody watching, almost everybody on the planet does this because, again, we're trying to be a tribe. We're trying to be community, even if the hatefulness and the meanness in us will say, but I don't like anybody. That's all defense. We all need each other. No man is an island.
Right.
Love that.
Anything, Lisa, Steve, any comments?
It makes me wonder what it is about individuals, what it is about societies that, some people, will stick with their friends no matter what.
Yeah.
And our parents will, just support their kids no matter what. And others are like, what is going on that there's this external structure, the societal norms that are more powerful than these, familial
Fear.
bonds.
Boundaries.
Uh,
Yeah. Such a great point, Steve, because the man that I'm dating, he does everything for his children and even stuff that I think like, wow, maybe you should reconsider. And of course, it's my opinion, but like you said, structural norms around parenting and, yeah, it's like they're so ingrained. It's like, but I have to do this. It's like, well, I don't know. Do you have to do that? I mean, right. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and and they're kind of like running amok and taking advantage. And it's like, have some boundaries. And do you feel good about this? Because if you don't, maybe you can speak up and it's okay. And don't be afraid that they won't like you. And, they're your children. Like, you should be able to speak your mind. And it's like, he's too scared. So, right. So that's a perfect example of a structure that like he doesn't want to go out of for fear.
You just kind of triggered me. I was sexually assaulted by a doctor, and I
Wow.
didn't say anything because of his power, because of his position, and because I wasn't secure enough in myself to say, this is wrong. So, on the really bad end of social norms, that's what can happen. I let his power and statue and his position over me make me cower and allow him to continue assaulting me. And I wouldn't have done that had I been stronger in myself and rejected the societal norms. But I was raised with, you mind your elders, watch out, and a doctor had that position over me. So that's how destructive these societal norms can be. They can literally lead to a woman allowing abuse. Well, allowing might not be the right word, but succumbing to abuse because of positions of power and
Wow.
not knowing yourself enough to go, what the fuck are you doing? You should stop now, and getting up and leaving. But I didn't because of those societal norms. Didn't want to say anything. What if he did, what if he said something? What if he told my mom? All of those things. None of those thoughts should have occurred in my head. It should have been, get the fuck off me, leave me
Yeah.
alone. I'm calling the cops. That's where we need to stand in ourselves and in a love for ourselves and have those boundaries. And unless you accept yourself, you'll never have those boundaries.
Absolutely. That's unfortunate. Were you really young, or you're a young woman?
No, I was 30.
30. Wow.
Yeah.
I was imagining like a 10-year-old girl not being able to say anything.
No, I was 30.
Wow. So you really felt trapped. Like, I can't
Totally.
speak up.
Totally.
Yeah. He's just got this like
Yeah.
stature, and yeah. I just need to just hurry up and get out of here.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he actually showed up to my mom's funeral, which I thought was like the goal. But I never saw him again. I never went back. And my mom died probably a month or two later. But yeah, it was totally. And then he even said, maybe that'll get you through until you find a tall guy to date. So it even, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was so bad. It was so bad. But again, had I known myself, had I known of my strength, had I not felt like that little girl that I needed, that I was told to be, I would never.
You would have stood up to him. Yeah.
I would have punched him now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But then I was afraid. I was intimidated.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was just like, please let this be over with soon. And it was, and he's a doctor.
That's unbelievable.
So those societal norms and those standards enabled that. If I would have been more empowered, then I would not have. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I allowed this, that he was an abuser, but I wouldn't have subjected myself to that in any way.
Right.
I actually had some similar situations with my first two relationships with women that I was in. And it turned into a situation, again, being raised super conservative and stuff. And I never really had the background to know like what was acceptable and what was not. And then, coming from that super conservative Christian background.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The first thing my mom told me when I told her what happened with my first girlfriend, she was like, so why were you having sex in the first place? And it was like a big old, are you kidding?
No.
Because that's like exactly what I didn't want to hear. And
right.
then to have all of that wrapped in with trying to figure myself out. And then I kind of had a little bit of a hypersexual thing going on for a while that was kind of a trauma response now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody was like, well, why are you going after all these toxic women? And
because I'm damaged.
Right. And like, well, in my thinking back on it, what they should have been asking is, why are these toxic women preying on me when I'm having to deal with all this trauma?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely relate to that one too as
well. And speaking of that, I would also like to throw out the societal norms of whore, bitch, balls. What else? All of those terminologies are wrong. First of all, nothing is more sensitive than the testicles. So balls aren't strong. A vagina is. And I am a proud bitch. In fact, the women that I respect the most, I title them a boss bitch. So again, those societal norms. I have 2 female dogs. So I'm always going, come on, bitches. And people were like, how? Why would you? They're literally bitches. It's okay for me to say this. A female dog is a bitch. It's okay. But people get so upset that I'm calling my female dogs bitches because of the what they deem as a bad word. So much like the communities of color have embraced their slang words that were usually used in a derogatory way, or always in a derogatory way, like the N-word or boy, something to that effect. For me, it was little girl. Now we can embrace those. They no longer have the power over us. They no longer are demeaning when we own it, because we can take that power away.
I totally agree with you about what you're saying about the terminology. You should have seen the look on my face, look on my mom's face the first time I called myself a dyke in front of her. She wanted to freak out. She was like, "Don't ever say that." I'm like, I have every right to say that. And she just didn't get it. And it was like, we never talked about it again, but it was just the most awkward thing because she found it like this super offensive thing. And I'm like, excuse me, like, people outside of communities have no right to tell people in those communities what they can reclaim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, anything?
For a loop.
You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of a working group that's addressing sexual assault in the workplace, and one of the things that comes up as the key thing to dismantle as far as the norms, and you referred to it with your doctor friend, the power dynamic
Yeah.
and how pervasive the power dynamic is in basically enforcing
Totally.
all of these norms. And so the work that we're doing is trying to find ways to structurally kind of deconstruct or disempower that power dynamic so that people with the power learn that they should not make use of that power.
Yeah.
And when that power disappears, it's not a thing anymore, then we all have equal power. That's when this sort of thing, these societal norms will have more of a chance of balancing out. But anyway, it's very theoretical. We're a long ways from there.
Yeah, but it's
but
such a good point, Steve, because you and I have talked over the years about how to establish an organization or a community without power, right? And how to be so democratic that someone doesn't rise to a point of power, because power ultimately corrupts. So I think in a society where we constantly elevate humans to a godlike stature or something like that, all of this abuse will continue. And until we see the equality in everybody, until we see that these people don't have the power over us. I mean, now my clients are movie stars. I'm, by the way, Steve makes rockets. He is literally a rocket scientist. So anybody should be totally intimidated by him and his brain. But instead, now I'm not intimidated. I'm just inspired. So we can be inspired by people and to learn from people without giving them power, because that power is where things run amok.
That's true.
Exactly, Joel. This is what Joel said. Power without accountability will always be abused. The answer is accountability. Power is necessary to do things, but the answer is accountability. That's perfect, Joel. Yeah. And I really hope that somehow that guy, he's in Atlanta, so watch out, people. But he, at some point, I believe that he will meet his accountability. So, and everybody will. It might create more harm. They might go more volatile. They may become more psychotic, or they could go, holy crap, I was an asshole, and let me try and fix this. It's up to everybody's individual choice. But know that your actions affect others. And I think this panel is proof of that in all the different aspects of our lives.
Yes. Great.
Okay, we are almost done. Anybody else have anything to say or anything else to address?
Well, I commend you both. Ash, you have to deal with quite a bit in your circle. And I think, you should be proud of yourself for, shunning and the word my sister is a lesbian, and it was really hard for my family too. And, the word lesbian and dyke, and right, my parents are serious Christians, and, it was very scary for them to have a lesbian daughter. And I mean, of course, now she's been with one woman 20 years. They're very used to it. But in the beginning, it was an absolute nightmare. So I just want to say, good luck to you and good for you. And Steve, you seem like a really knowledgeable and well-rounded individual. Happy to learn from both of you today.
Thanks for being here, Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Does our audience have anything else to say? Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Michelle, for your comments. Always love you guys. Okay, well, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Ash, any final words, and where can people find you?
So I do have a Facebook page. It's just under my name. That's more my personal page, but I also do connect with a lot of people with like advocacy work and stuff like that on there. So you can find me on that. In terms of any final words, I would just have to say the biggest thing that I've learned lately that I want all y'all to hear out on is this: never let anybody give you shit for stuff that's, especially stuff that you cannot control. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the energy. It's not worth the stress. Honestly, to be honest with you, I didn't mention this part, but the stuff with the ex best friend that burned me really bad happened right before I got my first big person job back in August. And I was like completely thrown for a loop for like a good month. And it was just not good timing. But I just told myself after a while, I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I have way more important things to worry about right now.
There's a
So
song out there that says, I think it's, I'm sorry for hitting people I no longer know, or hitting people for defending people I no longer know. And I think that is just like such a poignant line, because we put so much into the people that we know right then. And 5 years later, we're like, they've been gone. Who cares?
exactly. So yeah, it's definitely a process. It definitely sucks, but it's one of those things that you definitely need to be able to like acknowledge, to be able to move past that type of thing. So for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming back. Lisa, how about you? Where, any final words, and where can people find you?
I have a Facebook page. It's on, I'm friends with Sherry. You can find me there, just making comments. You'll see my page. Final words are just, come from a place of love as much as you can. I don't think you can go wrong if you just, stay in that place.
I'd rather err on the side of love.
Always. Thanks.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Steve, how about you? Any final words, and where can people find you?
They can find me. No final words. Just thank you for having me. Thank you for the audience for being here. If there are others who are like me, coming from this demographic that happens to be kind of in the majority or in the upper hand of the power dynamic, but you want to learn how to divest of that and serve and help people from underrepresented groups. We tailor our program specifically for that demographic to help us become aware of unconscious privilege and learn concrete ways that we can divest of that privilege. And you can find us at salamusa.org. And then we do have an Instagram site. Just search for Salam USA. And we're starting to get some cool stuff up on there. So that's where you can find us. Thank you.
You guys all rocked it. Thank you so much for all of your input and wise words. I'm going to send you backstage and close the show.
Thanks, Sherry.
Another great show. I love learning things from fantastic people, and I hope you guys got a lot out of it, especially any way to fully embody yourself and love yourself and reject all of the societal norms that say that you shouldn't. Be you. You do you, boo. Thank you for all your comments and questions. And if you like the show, share it and subscribe. We are headed to the Fireside VIP Lounge to continue this fantastic discussion. For $3 a month, you can join us and get a chance to talk to the panel live. Go to sherrypalace.com and hit the subscribe tab, whatever it is. Thanks again for watching, and have a wonderful week. And as always, walk in love. Mwah! See you next week.